The following is a very bad D&D story that someone I know wrote. If the person who wrote this story is reading this, please know that I'm not making fun of you, but I just thought this story was pretty funny. So, without further ado, let's get into this masterpiece, you could say. Table of Contents. 1. The Real World, Dark Order. 2. The Mirror Dimension, the Mirror Lord. 3. The Time Dimension, Breacher. 4. The Puzzle Dimension, the Puzzler. 5. The Ice Dimension, Ymir. 6. The Fire Dimension, Surtur. 7. Helheim, Hela. 8. The Magic Dimension, the Presence. 9. The Christmas Dimension, Krampus. 10. The Dark Dimension, Paul. 11. The Light Dimension, Mael. 12. The Anime Dimension, Gilgamesh. 13. The Math Dimension, the Teacher. 14. The Library, the Librarian. 15. The Apocalypse Dimension, the Peacemaker. 16. The Mage College Dimension, Mael again. 17. The Prison Dimension, the Warden. 18. The Dream Dimension, Nightmare. 19. The Beyond, the Beyonder. 20. The Void, the Endless. 21. The Real World, the Dark Order. Okay. This is already off to a great start. Alright, let's go. After a few centuries of peace in the land that has only known nothing but war, there was once a kingdom in the land of Uthar, and the most powerful of kingdoms was Mythica, which has king who had vision of impending attack on his kingdom from 4 dark shadowy figures, an army of monsters and an army of shadowy monsters. The king then, out of fear for his kingdom, sends most trusted messengers to find certain individuals who possibly can help save kingdom from this impending attack. Alright, we got some dialogue here. Character 1, you're doing whatever you're doing when you are met by a messenger who gives you a note. Character 2, you're on your way to attack an orc camp with your friends, but you're like, nah, and you abandon your friends in a desperate situation, and you end up at a bar where a messenger walks in and hands you a message. Character 3, you're thrown through a window and end up on the ground. 4 men then come out and kick you. After about 10 minutes of kicking, you are left about an inch within your life, laying on the ground. What? A messenger then comes up, leans over, and hands you message. Character 4, you're being dragged away by guards for a crime you did or didn't commit with 2 T's, and you're knocked out and wake up in a prison cell with a note that says Happy Times written on the walls. A few hours later, a messenger then comes up and gives you message. Character 5, you're in jail, and you have been for the last 10 years. You are in your cell reading a book called Folk Tales for Dummies. A messenger then enters your cell with an armed escort of guards and hands you a message, and the messenger gives you a message to get out of jail and says, "Don't thank me, just do what the note says." A few days later, you are all in a wagon heading to the Mythica Kingdom along with messengers. Enter Skyrim-related pun here. That is literally what the story says. A man driving the carriage turned to you and said, "What are all you lads doing headed to the kingdom of Mythica? Do what you want here." After your long trip, you come to gate of Mythica Kingdom. You all excited the carriage and walked up to the gate. The guard of the gate asks, "What is your business here, travelers?" Says the guard of the gate. This is too much. Oh boy. Alright, what else do we got? The gate guard then says, "Well, be on your best behavior while you are in our fair city. You all entered the city and started walking around. There is any and all kinds of stores in this town. You all then headed into the inner part of the city to the palace. You then exited the castle and were escorted by guards to main throne room. When you enter throne room, you see king sitting on throne discussing with advisors what to do about his dream. The king introduces himself as King Bishop and then stands up. You all walk around to the royal balcony that overlooks the entire landscape of Mythica. King Bishop then says, "Now the reason I've gathered you here is to help me stop a premonition of a future attack from 4 dark, shadowy figures. This is good. But what I need you to do for me, all I need you to do is go get a few immensely powerful coins from a few different dimensions, and there are 20 in total. Oh, just a few 20 magical coins. That's it. And, all I need you to do is go to a few different dimensions." King Bishop then handed you a list of places you go and people you kill to get the magical coins. Just then, the sky turned red with black clouds coming in, and white lightning is striking buildings, causing fires to erupt. You all jump to the ground and see the citizens being attacked by werewolves. After tearing up a few victims, the 2 werewolves looked over and see all of you. The werewolves then standed running towards you. Then we just have a picture of a werewolf. The werewolf stats. After defeating the 2 werewolves, you look over to see a storm giant with 90 werewolves marching by. The storm giant looks at all of you and snickers to himself, then prepares to throw a lightning bolt at you all. The storm giant throws the lightning bolt at you all. A cloaked figure lands in front of you and creates a massive shield that block. While keeping the shield up, the cloaked figure pointed at the nearest wall and a portal appeared. The cloaked figure then said, "Run, you fool!" Then he telekinetically pushed you through the portal. Why is this in past tense now? I thought this was in the present. You are now in the mirror dimension. You all get up and look around to see nothing but floating mirrors as far as the eye can see. You all then looked over to see a white hunched-over creature. When you all walked over to investigate, the white hunched-over creature looked over at you. After answering your questions, despair fades away in white dust. I guess despair was the name of the white hunched-over creature. The story never clarifies that. You all then got back on the path and start walking again, as one does. So apparently there's a battle here against the Mirror Lord, but there's no dialogue, so it just says, after defeating the Mirror Lord. So, after defeating the Mirror Lord, the body of the Mirror Lord's body, the body of the Mirror Lord's body, then started to turn to ash. Enter Skyrim pun here. After the body disintegrated into nothingness, all that was left was a coin with a runic symbol on it. Even though some of you are not adept in magical field, you can clearly feel magic powers emanating from one of you picked it up. A portal opens nearby and you all headed into it. Oh, this is so good. Alright, we got a few more pages. Jesus, there's just 5 pieces of wasted paper here. When you all exited the portal, you all finded yourselves in black void that has few hundred orange shards floating around. One of you looked in the direction of the shards to see yourselves fighting the Mirror Lord. You then hear a voice that says, "Well done defeating the Mirror Lord. I believe you're all the first ones to have defeated another interdimensional guardian, but I will not be so easily defeated." Jeez. Okay. After your responses and questions were answered by the disembodied voice, it then said, "Well, besides all of that, this is my dimension you are all in now. I am connected to all dimensions and timelines. You are all trespassing in my dimension, and I need to leave now." The disembodied voice then says, "Well, If you will not leave willingly, then soldiers will deal with you. Then 4 clockwork soldiers appear on all 4 sides of your position. They then readied their spears to attack you all. Every there in this story is the wrong there. Alright. Then we get the first picture of Breacher, who's a character we'll be seeing later. After defeating the clockwork soldiers, the disembodied voice said, "Good, very good, you perform amazing in the most simplest of tasks. Now is time for a challenge?" An orange light begins to shine as a metallic figure takes shape before you and lands on the ground before you and says, "I am Breacher!" Ooh. Breacher then extends his hand out and a giant orange prism comes flying at you all. You can't dodge it and a bright light flashes in all your eyes. When you clear your eyes, you look over and see a certain amount of men fighting a giant creature, Rek'Sai in parentheses. You all look over for an escape and see another giant orange prism. You then start running after it, but the giant creature, in parentheses, Rek'Sai, saw you and began chasing you all after causing a smoke cloud to distract its foes so it could start chasing you all. You all narrowly jump to avoid the giant prism, which causes another flash to appear, blinding you again. After clearing your eyes, you look around to see that you're surrounded in ice. You look over and see an old man, Mael, running around from what appears to be a giant eyeball, Volkaz. You then see the old man captured by the floating eyeball, Volkaz, and killed by having his eyes burned inwards. You then see another prism and start running for it. That was all one sentence. The floating eyeball, Volkaz, then looks over to see you all running for it and starts to chase you all. Ooh, fun. Another orange prism appears and a cloaked figure jumps out of it and blasts the floating eyeball, Volkaz, back. You stop running and you say whatever to the hooded creature. The hooded figure then turns to you all and "The time for questions is not now. That comes later, you fools. Now run, you fools." The hooded figure then turns and blasts the floating eyeball, Volkaz, with immense magical power. The hooded figure then turned back and extended his hand at you. Then he lifted his hand. Take a shot every time that story said Volkaz. When you fix your eyes, you're in Mythica again, on top of a building, and then you look over and see yourselves jump off the balcony. You all then look over to see a werebear with Warhammer, and about 80 werewolves following him. He looks up and says, "Get them." 5 werewolves then began to start climbing up the walls to get to you. I repeat, you see a werebear with Warhammer, and about 80 werewolves. Not with a Warhammer. This is implying that Warhammer is like a person. So there's werebear, Warhammer, and his about 80 werewolves. I digress. The werebear and his horde of werewolves then wandered deeper into the city. When the 5 werewolves get on the roof, they started to circle you. And then, he has it written down that you're supposed to fight all 5 of these werewolves at the same time. And, they each give you, 4,000 experience, which is more than the boss at the end of this story gives you. So, that's a thing. After defeating the werewolves, you all looked over for an exit to the time you were in. This is the first time the story is clarifying that we're time traveling, by the way. So, yeah, apparently we're time traveling. That's always fun. When you got through the prism, you found yourselves in the time dimension. That you then see yourselves being pushed away by Breacher. Breacher then looked over at you and said, "Oh, you're back," and you just left. Oh, that's hilarious. Breacher then said, "I'm not really here, so come find me, period, end quotation, period." Breacher then faded into nothing, and a path made of orange prisms started to form a bridge. You all then started to walk across the bridge after Breacher. After all of you walk across the bridge, you see a cloaked figure holding a book in his hand. The hooded man reveals himself as Destiny and then fades away into dark gray dust. You then started walking away as you then see, you all looked over to see a giant orange floating castle. You then start walking on the path that leads directly to the castle. You then see a rest station up ahead that looks like a train station. After a long rest, you start walking towards the floating castle. You come up to the gate of castle, and drawbridge of castle lowers for you all. You see two men standing in front of you. After defeating the two past heroes, Gilgamesh and Eyes Owl Goon, they turn into orange shards and return into the castle. You then walk further into the castle to discover there are a bunch of events through time happening on these orange crystallized walls. On one wall, you see a pirate ship exploded, and a man jump from the exploded pirate ship. On another wall, you see a group of men surrounded by giant chair and being who have enough magic power for all you to sense. You then started walking forward when you get across a long corridor of doors. After searching through the corridor for a bit, you come across a big door. You all open the door to see Breacher, standing on a throne waiting for you. Breacher then says, "Hello again. Your all's responds here." Breacher then stands up and walked out to his balcony. You all follow him outside. When you got outside, you saw Breacher looking into moments of time. You see heroes fighting the forces of evil. Breacher says, "Fascinating, isn't it?" Breacher then turns to you and says, "Well, it's time for me to kill you all and go on with my business." Alright, and then here's the Breacher fight. And then, okay, so what he has is he has a picture of Breacher, and then there's like his character sheet, and then there's another picture, the same picture of Breacher. Anyways, after defeating Breacher, his body begins to fade away. Breacher then turns to you all and says, "These next couple days will not be kind for any of you." The rest of body then turned to ash, and one of you grab magical coins from ash that used to be Breacher. The one who got last hits get Time Turner. And that is the end of the story that exists. There are no words for this, only tears. This is he's the new J.R.R. Tolkien. That's all there is to it.